So before we talk about the precepts, we have to be very clear about the 5 precepts. Because the 5 precepts are what are known as Nitya Sila, or regular precepts, or even permanent precepts, if you are a Buddhist. If you say Buddhang Saranang Gacchami, Dhammang Saranang Gacchami, Sanghang Saranang Gacchami, and so on, it means you have taken upon yourself the aspiration to keep to the 5 precepts, at least, even if you don't renew them every day, because the precepts can be observed on different levels. The first level, for example, is known as be mindful of it. In other words, you watch yourself. Let's say if you know the conditions are right for you to kill, you avoid those conditions, even though you have not recited the precepts. No to killing, no to stealing, no to sexual misconduct, no to lying, and no to getting drunk and drunk. It's very, very easy to be a Buddhist. But these few days you are going to add 3 more no's to it. Not a no to food after noon, the no to entertainment and beautifying yourself, and no to sleeping on a comfortable bed. So that's called the no aspect, or the omission aspect. Then you have what is called the commission aspect. Commit, that means you perform. Now that is the other 2 columns on the blackboard. Now we'll come to those aspects in a while. Very often when we hear talks about 5 precepts, we hear a lot about don't do this, don't do that. But we must also try to find out about the doing aspect. When we have stopped killing, what must we do? In a number of discourses, we find the Buddha telling us not only we should not kill, but the Buddha says, for example, in one of the suttas, having stopped killing, we should practice loving kindness. Having stopped stealing, we should practice generosity, and so on. So you got the 2 levels of non-conduct and committing good actions. Now, all these precepts, actually, they got 3 more levels of practice. Now, take for example, killing. Take for example, killing. In the Sutta Nipata, for example, the Dhammika Sutta, the Buddha says, one should not kill, nor cause to kill, nor condone killing. These are the 3 aspects of practice. They are called the Sikoti Parisutta, according to the Sutta tradition. Sikoti Parisutta means the 3 points of purity. In other words, if you want to keep your precepts pure, you must remember these 3 points. In other words, first of all, don't break the precept. Do not cause anyone else to break the precept. And do not condone the breaking of the precept. Now for that reason, some people, some Buddhists, on some days at least, try, for example, to be vegetarian. This is the reason. Because if you take vegetarian food, then you don't kill. Secondly, you don't cause to kill. Thirdly, you don't condone of killing. So this is an example here. So, of course, there are many things we can discuss here. If you are not sure of all these points, you can ask questions later. Now, let me go into the 5 precepts step by step before I go on to the 8th. you can see on the board, on the first column are the precepts. On the second column are what are called the five values. And the third column, the five virtues. Sometimes, I'm sure even now, some of you may be thinking, why did the Buddha introduce the five precepts? Why in that sequence? Not to kill, not to steal. Why in that order? Is this something given to us by chance, or is there some system? In fact, if you look very carefully, you will notice that there is a system. Killing is put first. The precept against killing is put first for a very good reason. Now, to answer all these questions, we use what is called values, the philosophy of values. What is the most important thing in the whole universe? What is the most important one thing? That's the first question we ask ourselves. And the answer is life itself. Because without life, we can't do anything. We won't be here even. Don't talk about precepts. So the most important thing in life, in the universe itself, is life. Therefore, the first precept is against killing. In other words, to protect life. Now, life itself is not enough because even animals have life. But animals are not developed. Animals kill each other and so on. So, the second question you may ask is, what is so special about life? Or what is so special about human life? We make it special by having happiness, by experiencing happiness. Second value. Now, when is a person happy? On a very simple level, we say a person is happy because he has got things, he got possessions. In a number of Buddhist suttas, we find the Buddha saying it is good to own things. In the Vyagga-Pajja Sutta, for example, Digajana Sutta, or the Arya Sutta, the suttas which talk about Buddhist economics. It's good to have things, to own things, to enjoy these things, and so on. Now, so people have things, they feel happy. Now, if you take away those things from them, they will feel sad, they will suffer. As such, the second precept is against stealing. Because when we steal from someone, we are in effect taking away the person's happiness, the person's energy, even the person's ability to love even. So the second precept is stealing is the second precept. Then, we have life, we have happiness. Now, we cannot be really happy if we don't have freedom. We must have freedom to do what we like, and also freedom not to do something, the right to say no. Now, if someone says no, and we refuse to respect that no, what results? Rape results, kidnapping results, molestation results. In other words, the third precept is broken. So the third precept reserves a person's right to say no. The right of personal freedom. A person cannot be happy, he doesn't have freedom. So that's the third precept. But when you decide to practice the 8 precepts, this rule becomes a bit more strict. Now, the third precept in terms of the 5 precepts is Kamesu Michachara Viramana. It means the training against sensual misconduct, or some people translate as sexual misconduct. It means to respect the body, to respect your energy, not to misuse it. It is to be used properly so that society doesn't suffer. In fact, the precepts is what is called the socialization aspect of Buddhism. We learn to socialize, learn to mix around properly, to behave as human beings. That's what precepts are about, because there are other people around. So this third precept is to respect our bodies and respect others. And to behave in such a way that if we have to be close to anyone physically, it must be properly done. And to have children, it should be done within marriage, properly within the contract of a marriage situation. But when you take 8 precepts, we take this rule a little further. In other words, we decide for these few days not to have any physical relationship at all. Now this is important because, well, for that matter, if you are a married person, you know how important it is to keep away for a while, to be by ourselves for a while. But if you're not married, you're a young person, you may be thinking, why? But I think you can understand this precept quite well if you work in an office even. You see, sometimes when we work in an office, it's like getting married, You got to listen to the boss, you got to follow what they say, you cannot simply do things because some people will be unhappy. So once in a while you like to get away. You like to be by yourself, okay? Sometimes we do a lot of things which we are not happy about. We do it because others want us to do it. We can never do something we really want to, just for ourselves, just because we like doing it, because we are happy doing it. Not often can we do that. If you think of it, in 1 week, 1 month, or even 1 year, how many times do you really have the chance to do something good exactly as you want it? Not much time really, except today, these few days, because you decided to take the precepts, and here you are doing it. So you have, in other words, decided to spend time with yourself this time, for yourself, by yourself, spiritually. And that is going to give you a lot of energy if you know how to do it properly. After the retreat, you find you are very fresh. You can do your work better. And most important of all, you are happier. And when you're happier, the people around you also feel happy. For some, in one way or another. So that is what the 3rd precept is about. In the 8th precept, it's called Abramacharya, celibacy. Abramacharya translated as incelibacy. We train ourselves to avoid incelibacy these few days. Then the 4th precept again, lying. Now so far we have talked about value of life, value of happiness, value of freedom. Now all these things are not useful if they are false. The fact that I'm talking to you now, we have a kind of unwritten law. We accept that I'm telling the truth, that you would like to know the truth, therefore the truth is of great value to us. So the 4th value is truth. For that reason, the 4th precept is against lying. And the 5th precept is against taking drugs and drinks. Now, there's something very interesting here. Before we go into this 5th precept, if you look at the previous 4, they can be broken up into 2 sets. Killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, or incelibacy, they are actions of the body. If you keep these 3 precepts, we have practiced what is called right action. Therefore, path, right action. Then you have the precept against lying, musawada. That is the practice of right speech. Then the 5th precept is not to take drugs and drinks, not to get drunk, not to get drunk. This precept is in a way the most important. That is why the Buddha put it number 5. The first one, we can know whether a doctrine is important or not by its position. It's sometimes put first, sometimes put last. In this case, 5 precepts, in the 5 precepts, the 5th precept is the most important because it deals with the mind. It's not just about drinking, It is to keep the mind pure and calm so that we can develop ourselves, develop the mind. So that's the meaning of the 5th precept. Wisdom. So, from there, it is only very simple to see why we have the five dharmas or 5 virtues. Now, so having stopped killing, we practice loving kindness. So it's not enough to say don't kill. We must also practice loving kindness. So maybe those of you who know Metta Bhavana, it's the time to do it. When we take the 8 precepts, We should not be gossiping or talking about what's the latest TV show or fashion, things like that. We should use this very rare occasion of calmness, of peace, to do some meditation or sutra study or discussing Dharma or listening to a Buddhist talk like this one. So, having stopped killing, we practice loving kindness meditation. If you put loving kindness into action, it is the show of the practice of compassion. Compassion is loving kindness put into action. If you practice in your mind, it is loving kindness. Then, having stopped stealing, we practice generosity or right livelihood. Having stopped stealing, we practice contentment or sense restraint. Sense restraint means what? See less, hear less, talk less, everything less. Why do we do all these things less? Because we want to turn all our energies inwards, to look inwards. There is a Zen story, This boy, the pupil, was asking the teacher, how come I can't see clearly what you are talking? The pupil asked. How is it you, teacher, can see things so clearly? You know what the teacher answered? He said, I close my eyes. What does that mean? Well, we have an advertisement in our meditation retreats. This December, join our meditation retreats. Close your eyes, see more. Because sometimes we open our eyes, we don't see things. We only see things that we want to see. Our organs are like filters. They don't allow you to see everything, You never see things that they really are. So we have to go beyond the senses. How to go beyond the senses? Refuse to let the senses control us. So we shut them down for a while. This is a shutdown period, in other words. We shut down the senses, we contemplate inside the mind. That's where the real senses are, you see. If your mind is sharp, then you find all your senses are also sharp. You will notice in meditation, for example, when you sit down quietly, you can hear the sound so clearly. You can even hear your watch ticking if you've got an old-fashioned watch, the little watch. You can even hear your friend breathing at the end of the room. So suddenly all your senses become so clear. Your eyesight becomes very clear. Your sensations become very clear too. Your health improves too. And you also have a very interesting effect on people. People like to be near you. They feel happy in your presence. So these are some of the benefits. Then, having stopped lying, we practice truth-telling. Now, what better truth-telling than talking Dharma? Now, truth-telling has got another level, the level of the mind. It is said that you can face reality right now when you meditate. For example, breath meditation. Now, as you're watching the breath coming in and out, you know the breath, you notice the breath, maybe at the point of the nose, maybe on the belly, depends which method you like. Most people find if they start watching the nose, which the Buddha himself used, it is easier later on. At first very difficult because very subtle. But when they use this nose method, they found that they can also watch the belly. Because the belly method is very easy, it's gross, so you can watch it very easily, up, down, like that. But from my experience, my own practice, and from what I noticed, those people who have done it, when I asked them questions, those who have done who start off with the belly and do only belly meditation will find very difficult to watch the nose. But if you do the nose meditation, like the Buddha did, you can also do the belly meditation. Now what's the advantage of that? Suppose you lose concentration on the nose, you bring your consciousness down and watch the belly, up, down, or rising, falling, and then you go back to the nose after you got concentration. Now on the other hand, if you meditate, after a while you find your breath slows down and you cannot watch the nose anymore. So you bring your consciousness down to the belly again. So when you go up and down like that, as necessary, your concentration improves. So this is why we encourage both methods. But why do I mention meditation? It is because as you are watching the breath, you are watching reality. Because the breath is happening right at that time. And you are noticing it. You are watching it. And as you are doing it, your mind is becoming calmer and calmer. But suppose Even right now, as you're listening to the talk, you will think about something else. But that something else is not reality, you see? It's not happening now. So this is where meditation is the direct experience of reality. And meditation is very simple. Those of you who have gone to the vihara where I live, you all know that. For beginners, probably here you also have your own practice. It's not difficult. But don't force people to meditate. Because make it simple and interesting for them. You find after a while they like it. And better than that, you'll benefit. Then the fifth precept, having stopped taking drugs and drinks, to practice mindfulness. So that's meditation, which I've talked about already. Then we have 3 extra precepts. Not to take food after, or rather the word is vikala bhojana. Vikala means wrong time. Vi means wrong or special time, certain times. Like in vipassana, vi means special or wrong time. Or wrong, means wrong. Kala means time. So vikala means wrong time or certain period of time, which is to be avoided. Now, when is the wrong time? Well, there are long stories about how these precepts came into being, but fortunately, there's not enough time, unfortunately, so I'll just give you a short summary. Now, vikala means from daybreak, from noon. Now, noon is not 12 o'clock, by the way. Noon is when you stand out there, the sun is right overhead. Alright? So, some people think it's 12 o'clock. No, 12 o'clock is local time. We have pushed our time ahead about 1 hour, I think. So, 1 o'clock roughly, you stand there, you will see roughly the sun overhead. So that's noon. Until the next morning, when you stand outside in the open air without any artificial lights. You stand outside, you put your hand out like that. If you can see the lines of your hand, that is daybreak already, so you can start eating then. That's a rule, that is. So during the night or during a vikala, wrong time, we do not take solid food. But of course, if you are not well, you can take drinks, milk products, certain kind of fruit juices. But if you don't have to take that, better still. So if you are very sick, suppose you have stomach problem, doesn't mean you should not take the precepts. You can still try your best. Insofar as you don't break the precept, you have kept the precept. And if you don't feel well, you take maybe cheese or milky drink. Then before you take that, in Vihara we do special recitation like the monks do, the Venerable here will surely he will tell you all those things. But we have translated it into English. For example, in the evenings when we take drinks, which are medicinal drinks, we recite, the monks are in Pali but we recite in English so that we know what we are saying. That is during the Vikala, the wrong time, when we take medicinal drinks, for example. We say, this medicament I take properly, considering it only to ward off painful feelings that have arisen for keeping away disease. Then you take it effectively. Then when you finish that, we read it loving kindness. A short verse, the last verse 8 onwards, Metta Sutta, Mettanja Sabba Lokasming, in English. And that one cultivate the boundless heart of loving kindness, and so on. So we cultivate loving kindness. Now this creates a very beautiful atmosphere. And this can be done anywhere, not just in a temple. You should bring this home and practice it. Then you find the family becomes more close, more wonderful. Now, you can also reflect on taking food during the right time. Say before you take your meals, breakfast, lunch, you say, this food I take properly, considering it, not playfully, not for intoxication, not for fattening, not for beautifying, but only for the continuation and nourishment of this body. All those people who stay in the Vihara memorize all this already. We recite this every meal. Of course, we don't usually recite it aloud. During courses, special events, we recite it aloud. When we do it by ourselves, we recite it quietly. And we close with loving kindness reflection. And this gives us a very good feeling. So, why don't we take food all the time? Because we don't need so much food. We know today, some people eat themselves to death. They eat too much. We have too much to eat nowadays, especially meat. So we got to cut down. And there's nothing wrong in eating meat if you don't kill. That's Theravada interpretation. So it's your choice. You want to be vegetarian or you want to take meat. The important thing is don't kill. But today we know doctors always advise cut down on meat, less meat, more vegetables, more beans, more fruits, things like that. So in other words, eat just enough. There is another interesting term. It's called bhojana matanyutta, moderation in food. And that's another practice we can do, even though we don't practice the precepts. Eating to live, not living to eat. We must reflect in that way. In fact, in one of the early suttas, the Buddha was rather strict, He said, it is good to have an empty stomach. Unudara. It's rather a difficult thing to practice, isn't it? But of course, not empty stomach all the time. What is meant is that when you are not full, you tend to think less about sensual delights and other things. You're more calm. And you may notice this, sometimes the best thoughts come to you when you are not overfed. I find I think better when long time after the meals, in fact just before meals, After eating meals, the ideas are all gone. Partly because the blood goes down to the stomach. So the Buddha has reasons for all that. But the Buddha didn't tell us to starve to death either. Important thing is moderation, knowing how much to eat, how much you need, and when to stop. To stop just before you get full, in other words, something like that. So, partly for health, partly for controlling your thoughts, and to meditate better, to calm the mind. Then, there's a long precept after this, Natcha Gita, Vagita, and so on and so forth. Not to sing and dance, and so on. Now, this one's a bit detailed. Let's look at them a bit, one by one. Now, first of all, dancing, natcha, or natya in Sanskrit. Now, why did Buddha bring this up, especially dancing? Well, because in Buddha's time, in India, probably India even today, people like dancing. It's a custom, it's cultural, and it's very sensual. So, for that period, for this period, we don't do it. We don't dance, because dancing is an expression of sensuality. Sometimes, and not all the time, by the way. For example, on certain days in Ceylon, you can see the Candy Parahera. They're dancing happily. See? That's not sensual. That is aesthetic. That is an offering. And that is something else. We're talking here about dancing in the sense of sensual experience. We don't do that. We cut down all this unnecessary movement of the body. We don't sing. We cut down singing, and if you cut down singing, you also cut down listening to music. You don't listen to songs. Why? We want these all sensual agitations. We want to concentrate inside in the mind, and not watching shows, because we are affected when you watch shows. All those soap operas, when we watch, we think they are real. All those things are not real. And for one day or for a few days, we just face reality, in other words. So we don't see all those shows. Then, not wearing garlands. Here is beautify ourselves. Why do we wear garlands? To attract people, to show that we're available, as it were. So, but these few days we're going to be very simple. We're going to be ourselves. We're not going to attract anyone. There was this young girl in the Vihara. She became an encyclopedia saleswoman. So she suddenly wore extra nice clothing and started painting herself up. I almost fainted when I saw her first time like that. I said, why are you doing this? She said, I'm going to sell books. I said, you look like you're going to sell yourself. You must not do this. I said, you're a young girl, you better think carefully. If you want to sell books, you sell books. You go there as you are. Don't worry about what people think about you. Dress simply and keep yourself simple. when people look at you, they'll be surprised because all the sales girls look different. All the sales girls look painted up and so on, but you are going to look natural. And they're going to wonder why. And true enough, she broke the record, you see. She sold the most encyclopedias in the office because people were surprised that she didn't paint up, didn't dress attractively. So the point is, what are we doing to ourselves sometimes? We forget that we are doing it for other people actually. But for these few days, we are doing things for ourselves to be happy. But this is not selfish. This is for self-development. Because if you don't develop yourself, nobody is going to develop it for you. Then we don't use scents, perfumes, all this again, not to attract people. And unguents. The Indians in those days, they use unguents, all kinds of paintings, they use makeups and so on. We don't need all that on these few days. And the 8th precept is not to use Uchchasayana Mahasayana, high couches and luxurious big couches. Why? First of all, who use high couches? The kings, the nobles, the important people. So when you sit on high couches, you feel very important. Actually, this is more of a lying down, not so much of sitting. It's okay to sit on a chair. But when lying down, sayana means place to lie down. Because when you lie down there, up to this point, I've not had any clear interpretation of this yet, so I'm only giving my own understanding. One possible explanation is that if you sleep on a very high bed, you could fall and hurt yourself. So it's one possibility. Of course, the other reason is important people sleep on high beds, so we don't want to have that kind of feeling. We want to feel simple. So the best place to sleep is to put a mat or some newspaper underneath so that you won't feel cold and sleep on the floor. Or not higher than say about a foot. So that's allowable. What about luxurious couches? Those are big, what they call like throne-like seats. And this meant again, it's very comfortable and you feel sleepy when you sleep. You sleep on such places and you might not want to get up. So in other words, giving us just enough sleep, just enough food, everything just enough. So that we function as special human beings. Now why are the Devas so wonderful, so special? Because the Devas need less food than we need. The Devas need less energy than we need, and yet they have more energy. With just a little effort, they can fly here, fly there, and they look so beautiful. Well, in a way, these 2 days we are going to live in a Deva-like situation. Devas are happy because, in a way, they don't have many things. Whatever they want, they can just create with their mind. So whatever you want, you can create with your mind also, through your meditation. So, these are the 8 precepts. Now, in the Vihara, we have come to this realization that if you can observe the 8 precepts, you can also observe the 10 precepts. Very simple. Only matter of addition of one more only. Not accepting gold and silver. In other words, if you want to keep the rule very strict, no buying and selling. So, this is what we do during retreats. When we go for retreats, meditation retreats, we encourage everyone, but not force them. If they want to, it's okay. We encourage them, we explain to them why it's so easy to observe the 10 precepts. After all, you go to a meditation retreat in the forest, you won't be buying and selling, is it? So why not observe the 10 precepts, right? But of course, before that, you must prepare all your things, all your food, whatever you need, so you don't have to buy any more things during the retreat. Then you can observe 10 precepts. Without being a novice, without having to shave your hair, without having to wear any robes, just dress as you are. The Dhammacharis and the Mitra, you have a Dhammacharis there and 2 Mitras there. When they go on their solitary retreat on their own in the jungle forest monastery, they observe the 10 precepts because they're all by themselves. So simple, So sometimes you can do that even at home, Say that the family decides to observe 10 precepts. So you put a sign outside, please do not disturb or something, and stock up all your food. You don't have to buy and sell any more things. And there you are, 10 precepts. So simple. Now, why are precepts important? I have already given you some rough idea. the precepts bring the best of humanness out of us. Through the precepts, we overcome what are called the animal nature in us. All these 5 evils, killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, lying, and getting drunk and drunk, are sometimes called animal acts. So we cut down the animal in us so that we become human. But this is only the beginning of our Buddhist practice, the foundation. After this, when we have already cultivated all these wonderful virtues, we purify the human aspect. How do we do that? Through meditation. We purify our minds with loving kindness. We calm our minds through breath meditation. We become more human. Now when you purify the human being, the human aspect in us, we become more divine. When you practice loving kindness, you practice the divine virtues, the Brahma Vihara. Brahma means the high God, This Brahma, the highest of the gods. Vihara, that means you abide with this kind of feeling. You become that God. You become that heavenly being. In this life, this very moment, this very place itself, you practice all these qualities. And then when you realize the truth, you go even beyond the divine itself to become like the Buddha, become enlightened. And you need only to become stream winner, that's all. No need to talk about Arahat even. Just stream winner only. Once you go into the stream, at the most 7 more lives to go. Not that difficult after all. Now how do we do that? Only 3 fetters to be broken. Perhaps these 3 fetters we can talk later. Another speaker might tell you about all these things, or you probably know them already. We start off with the precepts. So, now even if you don't want to get enlightened in this life, the precept will help you to be happy in this life itself. People are not likely to blame you for the actions you have done. You will feel happy because you have not done anything wrong. And when death comes, all this good karma will return to help you, and your next life will be a very good one. If you have not broken any of the 5 precepts, your next life, the lowest it will be is human life. And if you do your meditation well, higher levels of existence. That is the meaning of the Pali words. Silena sugating yanti, silena boga sampada. Silena liputing yanti. We can attain nirvana even to the precepts if you follow up with practice of meditation and attainment of wisdom. So, silena sugating yanti. You can attain the heavenly states also, sugati, happy realms, from human life upwards. Happy realm usually refer to the heavenly worlds, but in this case we can say a happy human birth also. So the precepts are therefore useful in that sense. But remember, the precept has a purpose. Try to go one step further. Do that mental development also. So in that way, our minds will become calmer because the body is well taken care of. Before I close, I will tell you a very beautiful story about a certain man who practiced the 8 precepts. And he refused to give up. This is a story of Anathapindika's servant. Now I'm sure you all have heard of Anathapindika, right? He was one of the Buddha's chief lay disciples, very generous millionaire. Now, every full moon, new moon day, Uposatha days, the family observe the 8 precepts. In fact, not only family, the household, the whole house observe the 8 precepts. But that day, this servant came back late. He worked very hard, but he came back late. He didn't know about the precept day. So when he came back, nobody was taking food, but they left some food for him because they knew that he did not know about the precept day. But when he found out it was precept day, he insisted that he also wanted to observe it. But he has been working very hard and he has not taken any food. And he came back very hungry, very tired, but he insisted on observing the precepts. But because he suffered so much, he had to tighten his belly, use a kind of cloth and tie around so that he don't feel hunger, But then, unfortunately, his karma was right. His karma was right. He fell sick, and he died that day, observing the 8 precepts. But his mind was very calm. Now, because of that, he died and was reborn as a beautiful tree spirit, a tree deva, a Rukata deva. And this story was told to the monks because these monks saw this tree and make a wish and whatever they wish they got, So they asked this deva, how do you get all these great powers? So the deva told this story, observing the precepts. Of course, I hope that you all don't misunderstand me and hope to be tree devas. That's not the idea of the story. The idea of the story is that just, observing precept one day only. And this man died, And because of that, he got a happy rebirth. What more if you observe it for so many days? It's going to be of great merit to you. So at this point I will stop the talk because I'm sure when we talk about precepts you have a lot of questions to ask. So if anyone would like to ask, just put up your hands. Okay? Jumping to conclusion that salesmen lie. You should re-ask the question in this way. You should say, do salesmen lie? By, for example, buying cheap and selling dear. Right? We should not assume that salesmen lie. I don't think so, salesmen lie. Not Buddhist salesmen anyway. For example, you buy something for 5 cents and you sell it for 10 cents. If it is acceptable, it's not lying. Now, you know very well when you go to the shop that they mark up the price. We accept that and we buy it. That's not lying. It's not lying if, number one, the price marking is acceptable. It's not exorbitant. Secondly, the product is a good product, as claimed in the advertisement or on the wrapper and so on. It is not something else. There is no fraud going on. And you sell it as agreed. It's not lying. Okay? Otherwise, there will be no Buddhist salesman, isn't it? So it's not lying in that sense. It must be acceptable. Yes? No, I heard your question. You can or not? What if I say can? Then you say the Venerable say can, I get into trouble. Now, we monks will be very careful not to approve you all of any action. It's not whether can or cannot. If you say can or cannot, I say of course can, you see, because you are free to do it. But should we or should we not? We should not. Okay? What does it mean, we should not? We should not means we must think about it first, you see. Alright? Now let's look at this question more seriously. Should we tell lies to protect ourselves? Now the second question is, do we need to tell lies to protect ourselves? Okay? Now here is where we got to take some very clear examples. Now let's suppose someone we love is being attacked by some gangsters or bandits, and they are hiding somewhere in the house. Then the gangster or bandit comes down and say, where is this person? Now you'll be very foolish if you say, oh, I'm a good Buddhist, this person is hiding inside such a place. Now that's very foolish, isn't it? That is wrong. See, no compassion, no wisdom even. But you can say, you can refuse to talk. If you keep quiet, in this case only, by the way, if you keep quiet, you are not lying. You have not told anything. Secondly, you can say, I don't know. But the thought is important, The thought in your mind has got no greed, no hatred, no delusion. The 3 roots are not there. That means you don't say I don't know because you have greed. You don't desire anything except love for that person, loving kindness. No hatred for anyone, and no delusion. Maybe delusion a little bit. As long as you're not enlightened, there is some delusion. But in this case, I cautiously say it's all right. The word cautiously is underlined. So, in that sense, the precept is not broken. Some karma is committed, yes, because it's not totally true. But the karma is very minor in the manner of speaking. But the precept is not broken. You have not lied. Because the intention here refers to the three roots are not there. And the good karma is there to protect the life of someone. In that sense, it's a special situation. Positive virtues. Now, suppose that you have to break the precepts. For some reason, you have broken the precept. Again, don't worry, it is already done. Renew the precepts. Suppose accidentally you didn't know, you forgot, so you ate something during the Vikala, wrong time. So then you said, oh dear, I forgot, I'm not supposed to eat it. Don't feel guilty. Now, a Buddhist never feels guilty. A Buddhist says, I know it is wrong, therefore I must renew my precept. You can, that particular precept. So you can go to the Venerable and say, can I renew my precept? Or you can go to the Buddha shrine and say, I renew the precept again. You can do that. Just start all over again. Or suppose if you're very sick, suppose someone who's not very well, they try to observe precept on an experiment basis, and then they found the attack comes. So they have to take some food. Let's say, so they recite the 5 precepts for that moment. Then they take food. After that, they recite the precept again. Now, if you are forced to lie, then you must think very carefully. Why am I doing this? Am I really benefiting from this thing? Why am I doing this? Try your best to cut down the negative aspect. Cut down. We cannot be perfect, but we cut down the negative aspect. Another way is try to prevent it. Sometimes we try to take the easy way out. Let's say if you are forced to lie, let's say it hasn't happened yet, but it's going to happen. You have a boss who is a bit aggressive or who is uncaring. Now what must you do? You try this. Do loving kindness meditation to this boss. Of course, you must just practice what loving kindness meditation is about, you see. You do that. You put this boss on the 4th stage. First stage is to yourself, second stage a dear friend, third stage is neutral person, fourth stage is the negative person. Now, a lot of people have come and told me they've done this and it worked. The next day, there was this case, this man who was working in the office. For some reason, his boss got fed up with him, didn't want to talk to him. The cold treatment, Cold War. So he felt a little bit worried. Of course, he's silly. He dare not go to the boss and ask, boss, why are you not talking to me? I mean, it's a bit risky to do that. So he went back and did loving kindness meditation. Next morning, the boss told him, I say, Mr. A, last night I was thinking about you. Let's go and have lunch together. And this is one true story. And there are many other cases like this. We do it in the Vihara very often. Whenever we find one devotee who is negative, or we find someone outside who is negative, or neighbors make too much noise, we meditate, send them loving kindness. Almost always it works. They're almost always quite high percentage, I would say 90%. So, do this. That's one way. Never take the easy way out. Think of some other possible ways. Any other question? Yes? To Atula? What did the Buddha say to Atula? They blame those who speak too much, they blame those who speak little, they blame those who do not speak. There's no one in the world who's not blamed. But it's better that you make enemies if you're sincere rather than make friends when you are evil. Isn't it? I mean, if you do evil things, you get friends. Then what kind of friends are they? Right? Important thing is tell yourself, let me feel happy that I'm not like these people. At least I'm not insulting others. I'm the victim of my own karma now. I'm the owner of my own karma. Reflect in that way. Then you will not feel so bad, you see. Of course, sometimes we feel so rotten. We say, what is this? I feel so used, Does it mean to be a Buddhist you got to become so humiliated? No, it's not like that. There is a beautiful poem, you see.
He that is down need fear no fall. He that is low no pride. He that is humble ever shall have Buddha to be his guide. I've revised the poem a little bit for the Buddhists. If you are humble, what pride is there? In the latest counseling session, this girl was complaining why no one loved her. Then we discovered that the real problem is pride. So when she overcome the pride, no more problem. She said, how come nobody loved me? But I asked her, I said, do you love people? She said, why should I love them when they don't love me? I said, that's the problem, you see. You cannot say people don't love you, because love is a very strange thing. You don't have it until you give it away. She thought about it, said, yes, that's quite true. I think now I know the solution. So remember, sometimes we are being tested. In the commentaries to one of the suttas in the Sutta Nipata, the Buddha was, either the Buddha or the commentator was talking about humility. We must be humble, it is mentioned. What's meant by humble? To be like a doormat. A doormat, people rub their feet on it. To be like a snake without fangs. To be like a cow without horns. That is humility. That's how we must reflect. We reflect ourselves, to be humble in that sense. But to be humble doesn't mean submissive, by the way. We are too submissive sometimes. So when people, for example, when you invite a Christian friend to come to a Buddhist talk, oh no, I can't go. But when the Christian friend invites you to church, you go. Now that's called submissiveness. Humility doesn't mean submissiveness. Humility allows you to say no. Now we have a booklet. Where's that booklet? Say no. You must learn to say no. You see? You see this little booklet we have here? Say no to the evangelist. When you observe precepts, you say no 8 times. Right? So the first thing as Buddhists we must learn is to say no to evil. Say no to submissiveness. Say no to the evangelist. And then say yes to mental development. Say yes to the 3 refuges, the 5 virtues and so on. In fact, if you look at the Eightfold Path, the Sila Khanda, the moral conduct aspect, talks about no, saying no to all the evil deeds. Then the second collection, the meditation aspect, Samadhi Khanda, is to say yes to mental development. And then the last one, wisdom, is what? Total silence. The silence of wisdom. You see, this is one way of looking at the Eightfold Path. Rather poetical way, you might say. Any other question? Yeah?
If you know that the tree is bearing fruit and the tree belongs to someone, and the fruit fall off the plant, you pick the fruit, you consider stealing.
Well, we have that kind of tree in the Vihara, in fact, Now, the answer is very simple. Luckily, I have studied some law in the Monks University in Thailand. And I remember we had to deal with this problem, The answer is that the fruit belongs to you. If the branch go into your compound, the leaves fall to your compound, you see. So the fruits are also yours. But of course, your neighbors may not like it, you see. So make friends with your neighbors, Well, what, you pluck the fruits and give him some, So it's not stealing. Anyway, that is in terms of common law, our laws, because the precepts must also be interpreted with the country's law if the law does not go against the precept. Any other question? This is a very, very difficult question to answer. There are different approaches, okay? Even among the Theravada also, we've got vegetarians, you see. And among Mahayana also, you've got people who are not vegetarians. So it's not so simple to say all Mahayana are vegetarian, all Theravada are not vegetarian. It's a matter of choice. First thing, choice, okay? Now you remember I told you about the Tikoti Parisuddha, the 3 points of purity. According to the suttas, there are two sets, by the way, Now, I think it's a time for me to tell you about both the sets. The Vinaya set, the Vinaya Tikoti Parisuddha, T means 3, Koti means points, and Parisuddha, utter purity. The 3 points of utter purity. When is meat pure, according to the Vinaya? When the monk or nun, in the Theravada, of course the monks, have not seen, heard or suspected the meat has been specially prepared for him. Then it's okay, he can take it. But there's a problem here. In the Sutta commentary, it is mentioned, the Tikoti Parisuddha are not to kill, not to cause killing, nor condone killing. So there's a bit of problem there. Because when we take meat, we know today by law of economics, if there are a lot of monks, you see, then we create a demand for the meat. So in a sense, that is indirect killing. But like I said, it is controversial, you see. Because according to Abhidharma tradition, the mind that kills and the mind that eats are two different minds. Now some people are convinced by this argument, some people say it is not a fair argument. So it's still controversial. But one thing I can say is this: do not take meat unnecessarily. When you have the chance not to take, you don't have to take it. So we solve the problem in the Vihara in this way. We say we are lacto-ovo-vegetarians. We take vegetables, but we take eggs and milk. Because we have no reason not to take eggs and milk. The reason for us to be lacto-ovo-vegetarian is because the first precept against killing or the value of life. Of course, we must be careful to choose eggs which are not fertilized. The ones that you normally buy in the shop are not fertilized eggs. And if you worry about proteins, you get enough proteins and cholesterol there. Then milk. Milk also is, you don't kill anything to take milk. Now germs are not regarded as beings, so boiling water to kill germs is not breaking the precept. So you have your choice. Now if as a Buddhist you find that you are taking meat, you are so used to meat. Now I had that difficulty when I was younger, so I told myself I must be a vegetarian. It's my decision. Because when I give talks like this, people ask me questions like what you ask now, you see. The worst thing they ask me, do you take meat or not? So I find it very difficult to answer. And sometimes you get these intelligent young scholars, they tell you this, they tell you that, and you don't know how to answer them. And it's very embarrassing sometimes. Of course, we know the rules, but they don't accept those things, you see. And also, you can keep quiet about it, you see. But then I ask myself, why don't I try to cut down on meat? So first thing, I cut down on the animals which are big. Then I cut down to fish. Then I cut down to chicken. No, chicken first, and then fish. Smaller and smaller. And then eggs and milk. Now we are still on eggs and milk. So that's one way. Now suppose you still have to take meat for some reason. Remember, it's the taste, We get attached to the taste. All those advertisements on the TV, they are selling the taste, isn't it? Now don't imagine about them now. So we must tell ourselves we are only attached to the taste. Whatever, when we eat something, we feel full, we don't feel like taking any other thing anymore. Isn't it? Let me tell you a story here. There was the king of France who was a glutton. He eats, he not only was he a glutton, he has all kinds of bad habits. So his priest was very concerned. He told the king, Your Majesty, you are breaking a lot of rules, Why don't you stop doing all this? The king said, I'll do it if you will do something. I'll give you a test. Then this priest said, okay. The king said, I will give you something that you like very much, something you like to eat. Every day I'm going to give it to you. If you can take it for 1 year, I'm going to stop all these bad habits. So this priest was very delighted. He said, sure, why not? What's your favorite? The king asked. He said, well, my favorite is venison. Venison is deer meat, So the king said, okay, you will have venison every day, every meal. So breakfast, lunch, dinner, all the venison. Day in, day out. After 1 week, he felt quite bad already. 1 month, 2 months. Then he gave up. He said, oh, no more, please, no more venison. Now, you may be wondering what venison is. Let's simplify it to roti canai. Breakfast, roti canai. Lunch, roti canai. Dinner, roti canai. First day, second day, third day, 1 week, roti canai. 1 month, roti canai. Can you take it? Maybe some of you can, but this poor priest cannot. After that, he gave up. So he lost the bet. But my point in the story is this. If you don't think about it, you forget about it. Or you go on eating the same thing, you get sick of it. So that's one way. Vegetarian food you can prepare in so many ways, so many styles. On the other hand, suppose you may say, oh, it's so difficult to buy vegetarian food. Well, okay, you buy the char kway teow or any of those food outside. You tell the man, don't put meat, put more vegetables. If the man forgets and put meat, never mind, you take it out, give your cat or dog to eat the meat, and you eat the rest. That's another way. Cut down. You see, you're not pure or impure by what you eat. Don't worry about that, by the way. Because some people say, oh, everything must be pure. Your plate, your bowl, your cooking utensils. Some people say that. But of course, you must respect that if this is their temple, see. You must not go and tell them nasty things also. I'm only telling you because here I'm allowed to speak freely. See? So, purity doesn't come from what you eat. The Amaganda Sutta is very clear about that. Someone said that if you are pure by what you eat, then cows and goats will attain enlightenment first because they are vegetarians, you see? Isn't it? So, but don't talk this joke to the Mahayana people, by the way, you won't like it. The point is this, it's not what you eat that makes you pure. It's what you think. You see? It's what you think. So, therefore, in conclusion, we say, cut down. You don't break the precept if you take meat, that you don't kill. But, be moderate. If you don't need it, don't take it. Simple as that. Any other question? Yes? If you take it prescribed by a doctor, or you know it will work, you can take it. It's not breaking the precept. But suppose you take it for fun. You take it because it makes you feel good, but you're not sick, Then you've broken the precept. You have caused yourself to be intoxicated. There is another case. I mentioned this case in another booklet called What Not to Look For in a Religion. Objections to Buddhism. The section on Nichiren Buddhism. There was this, it's a book called Nichiren, Buddhism, Modern Buddhism, the New Buddhism of Modern Japan. I mentioned this story. There was this Nichirenist woman. She was laughing at her son. He said, the son is a Theravada Buddhist. He said, why you read all the sutras and observe precepts, so much trouble? We don't have any precepts. We eat what we like, we do what we like. But the mother is allergic to prawns. She likes prawns, but she's allergic to prawns. So when she takes prawns, she gets strange attacks. But she must take it. It's a craving she cannot control. And when she gets the attack, she has to take a kind of pill, a kind of drug, in fact, that is under the counter, not allowed to be sold openly, not allowed to be sold, in fact. It's a dangerous drug, very expensive. So she tells the kid to go and buy for her. Then one day, she decided it's wrong to do all that. She asked the son, what sutta are you chanting? And she became a real Buddhist. And after that, she became more happy. So this is where sometimes one thing leads to another, you see. We become drugged with food, with other kinds of medicine. On the other hand, we must also be wise in studying the sutras and the rules. Now, for example, in the monks' Vinaya, certain kinds of plants are not allowable. The pungent plants. For example, garlic, onions, leek, and so on. Now, the Buddha said, don't take this. There is no good karma or bad karma here. It is what is called Piyasilo, a rule which is made to help us live more comfortably, more orderly, to increase the faith of people. If we take too much garlic, too much onion unnecessarily, the body becomes worked up. You become stimulated easily, you see. It's not necessary. But there is a special provision, you see. In the Vinaya also says, you can take garlic if you are sick. Now, I tell myself in the Vihara, it's better for us to take garlic than take Ajinomoto, for example. Because too much Ajinomoto is bad for the health. But if we are sick, we can take garlic. Instead of taking other kinds of pills, which have got all kinds of side effects. So we crush the garlic, we put some milk, we take, then the cold is gone. So when you are sick, your body is weak, you see. So it's okay. So you must be aware of your body, you see. And when you do meditation, you're also in control of your body. So these things won't disturb you. So you must know when to do it, when not to do it. Alright? So this is where don't point to people when they commit mistakes. Find out what is right, what is wrong, very carefully. Find out about the precepts. What is the real meaning of it? You're not sure? Ask your teacher, ask the monks. When you read a book, some authors are so strict, you see. They say, cannot do this, cannot do that. You know? There are some monks I know in some meditation centers, not in this country. It is said that, say you offer them something, and then once they put it down, they won't take it up again until someone offers it again. Well, that's a bit strict. We don't need to go that far. Not as laymen, certainly, you don't have to do that. So this is where you must understand that you are lay people. So this is how far you should go, find out. See? So don't try to behave like the monks, or don't try to copy the monks unnecessarily. But of course, if you think something is good, that you can follow, like if you see the monks meditating, you meditate, oh, that's good, you can do that. If you want to be very strict like the monks, then become a monk. If you are not sure what the monk is doing, you ask the monk. And that way things will be clearer to you. Any other question? Yes? Now, why I want to look at the notes, because I want to tell you they are authorized answers, you see, not my views. 4 constituent factors of breaking the precept against taking drinks. Number 1, there must be the intoxicant. Sura, Meraya, Majja. Sura, strong drink. Meraya, beer. Majja, when you mix the two. Like shandy, you know. So be careful. Now don't drink shandy, okay? Because you're under precepts. Then the mind wishing to take the intoxicant, the desire, see, you think about it. Then the act of drinking. And then you become drunk. Now this is what the commentators say. The Buddha didn't say this, see. So if you use this as a rule, you can drink but don't get drunk. But I think that's a bit risky. There is a Japanese saying. Now I don't know Japanese, but in English it goes like this. Man takes drink. Drink takes drink. Drink takes man. Okay? Man takes a drink, the drink takes another drink, and then the drink takes the man. So be very careful. Now, what if you are forced to drink? Now, we Buddhists like to ask that question. What if you are forced to do this, forced to do? Okay. There are many skillful means you can do. For example, you can take half a glass when someone is not looking for a lot of water in it. Or you can always smile and then just pour it down to the plant. They are wondering why a lot of plants die whenever there are Buddhists in the gathering. So those are some ways you can do it. Or you can, if you are the boss, say, I don't drink. If the Muslims can say that, why can't you say that? You say, I don't drink. If you are given that choice, say it. Don't worry. Or when you throw parties, New Year for example, don't offer drinks. Don't offer those kind of drinks. Make herbal tea. New Year people have been drinking aerated water until they become like balloons, So offer tea. Offer other kinds of herbal drinks. Celebrate New Year the Buddhist way. You see, this year, our society has earmarked it as the year of Buddhist culture. So we're going to celebrate New Year and other occasions in the Buddhist way. Birthdays, funerals and whatever. Buddhist way. We have a Buddhist way of celebrating birthday also. If you're interested, you can always ask us. So remember, you are given the choice. So if you have to drink, don't get drunk. Know when to stop. If you don't have to drink, better still. In fact, I might say 3 conditions are enough to break the precept. First of all, the drink. Second, the desire to drink. Third, the drink touches the lips. Alright? Now, what about when liquor is mixed with other things? Now, this is very interesting. I remember we got one exam question in Thailand when I was there. If the liquor is mixed, say in making cakes. Now when you make cakes you use gin for example. That's okay. Because it's mixed with some other things. Water-based compound used to have alcohol. Now you see we don't have alcohol anymore. That is alright also, if it is medicine. Then there's a very special case, Sometimes the doctor may prescribe to you alcohol for some reason. For example, but if you use for say injection, you rub on the skin, that's okay. Sometimes the doctor may prescribe it, you have to take it for some reason. That's also alright, because it's taken a special dosage. So if it's taken as a medicinal purpose, but don't misinterpret medicinal by the way. So every time you drink you say medicinal. It's not like that also. So remember, it is mixed, you are not broken the precept. But there are some very interesting points here to remember. This is law, Buddhist law, Now let's suppose you bring me a drink, but you got a new temple boy, he doesn't know how to distinguish whiskey and water. So instead of water, he poured whiskey. We don't know how he got the whiskey, but that doesn't matter. So he put it here. Now I don't know it is whiskey. I've never drunk whiskey before. So I took it and I drink, you see. I didn't even know it tastes whiskey. Then later someone told me, my goodness, we gave you the wrong drink, Then I said, oh, he said whiskey. Then I realized, I have not broken the precept. But suppose, it is water here. Then you all are hiding somewhere, you say, hey, let's try some drink, I got some whiskey. This boy has got a habit of mixing up things, you see. So he poured water into a whiskey, okay? Then you go behind and hide and then you say, come, let's drink, And then you are under precept. So you say, okay, let's try. So you drink, but it's water, you see. You thought it is whiskey. You have broken the precept. Even though it's water and not whiskey. So the precepts can be rather tricky sometimes, because it is in the mind, It counts a lot in the mind. But just because you think of killing someone, you think of lying, you have not broken the precept. Okay? But don't allow that thought to continue. Because if you allow the thought to continue, one day it will appear through the body door and speech door. So those thoughts must be corrected through the second level of training, mental training. Precept training, like they say precepts, train your body door and speech door. Mental door through meditation. Any other question? Yes, yeah. Vegetarian food. It helps. Because you worry less, you see. Have I killed? Have I not killed? You don't think much about it. Right? If you have eggs, again, as I say, you don't have to worry about meat. That's one way. So this is where, when you're meditating, if you're meditating one day, of course, not so difficult. If you meditate for weeks, then it's good to kind of balance your diet by have a variety of vegetables. If you are vegetarian, variety is very important. And you must take yellow vegetables, green vegetables, fresh vegetables, lots of fruits. Then you'll be alright. Lots of beans and nuts. A lot of proteins there. Soya bean, for example.
What happened to the forest monk when they're meditating, the village also that when the homes house?
Yes. They can always put aside the meat. That's one way. Or some of them are not vegetarians. That's their choice, you see. Now, if you're a forest monk, you only collect food, you don't think about those things, it's different, you see. Then you're not killing. To that extent, the precept is protected. It's not broken. What I'm saying is, if you can avoid taking meat, use it. Use the opportunity. Otherwise, if you're a monk, of course, people offer you, you have to eat it. You take what you can, and don't overeat, that's all. You try to go as near the ideal as possible. Okay? Never try to be perfectionist. Then you start worrying. You tell yourself, in this present condition, what must I do? The Bhaddeka Rata Sutta, remember? Buddha's, it's the Tana Sutta. The Tana Sutta, the Buddha says, now look at the situation now and ask yourself, what is the best thing I can do now? Now, that's what you must do. Okay? Don't be a perfectionist. Yes, is someone beside that? Yes. So the three standards of purity: don't break the precept, don't cause others to break a precept, and don't condone it. You cannot condone it. What's the meaning? Now, first of all, you break yourself the precept. That's very wrong. Second, you cause others to do so. For example, you say, "Go and kill that person," and the person does it. You have also broken the precept. Secondly, the person, suppose you didn't tell the person to do it, but both of you hate the same person, let's say. Then this friend kills him. You say, oh, very good, you say. Then you have broken the precept also. In spirit at least. Yes? To that question. I say, if alcohol or liquor is mixed with herbs and other concoctions, is taken for health, it is not breaking the precept. But if you are not sure, like during this kind of gathering, you don't have to take it. Okay? But from all the interpretation given from the Vinaya and from what I've learned, from my understanding, as long as it's mixed, it is not breaking the precept. But if you take it and you can get drunk by taking it, even if it is yomesu, then you may break the precept. You've got to be careful. But if you don't get all the symptoms of being drunk, and yomesu is a mixture of so many things, and alcohol is only one, it's okay. Suppose, maybe you have lung difficulty, lung problem or health problem, you take this to help yourself, it's okay. Sometimes some Chinese herbs, they put a bit of rice wine, for example. As long as it's mixed, must not be taken pure, mixed, then it's okay. But don't take advantage of this rule, by the way. You must understand the right occasion. There must be a reason for this. You don't take it because, Piyasilo says it's okay, and then you go and buy one. You don't need it, you see. Okay? Don't misinterpret it that way. Yes? If you don't take beef, don't take meat. Why just beef, you see? Well, it's a good start anyway. It's a good start of not taking the meat of big animals. Alright? Then you cut down to the small animals, and then cut down to eggs and milk. Alright? The Chinese, I've asked some Mahayana monks, why do you like to say this? Because I'm the one who got to answer the question. Because you should ask the Mahayana monks, you see. One of them told me, because in China they see this buffalo, have to work hard, plow the land, and the cows give milk and so many things. So we should be grateful to them. And then they say Kuan Yin told them, and I don't know how they got this message, but I think it's something to do with compassion. Compassion. And also economics. You see, the bull and the cow is very precious in ancient China, you see. If people start killing these animals, it's a waste, you see. That's one possible explanation also. But, as I said, it's not just not taking beef. Other meat also should be included, if you think that not taking beef is wrong. Remember, as Buddhists, you are allowed to do many things, but you must think very carefully before you do it. Do I need to do this? You must think like that. Any other question? Of course it is, if the ants die.
But if you don't take away destroy the house.
You can always shift. You can go to another house. You see, the point is this, like I said, remember the principle of the precepts. It is not a question of whether you can or can't do it. Of course you can do it. It's your choice. But you should not do it. Okay? Now, there are stories even in Thailand, these white ants attack the monasteries. So the monks have to decide to let the monastery collapse or to ask those people to, put in some insecticide or what. But I was told they decided to call the people to come to clear the white ants. It is killing. There's no doubt about that, you see. But let me put it this way, something I never like to say, but I have to say. It is not as bad as killing human beings, but it is killing. Now, if maybe you got attacked by white ants once only, you clear the place, and you try as carefully as you can not to kill any of the ants, but even then some die. Of course, it's not as bad as killing someone. But if you make a habit of it, you enjoy killing it, it becomes very bad karma. Then result is what? You may get sick for no reason at all, and you don't know why. It's because you enjoy the killing. But you try your best to protect life. But even then, in the process, you kill some. Even though you break a precept, you still make an effort to keep it, you see. Now that's different from enjoying the killing. So it's not so simple to answer this question. Okay? So try to keep the precept as well as possible. That is why we renew them every time. Okay? Yes? Because the dog is clean when you first get the dog into the house. Even we got cats in the house like that. So you can clean the animal, then throw the ticks far away. That's one way. And then, you see, whatever it is, we cannot get rid of all the ticks in the world for sure, you see. So at least we can get rid of the tick away from the house. Or, sometimes you get leeches, in the vihara, in the wet area. Once I got it. So I took it, just throw it away in the big drain out there. It could be one of my ancestors, I don't know, you see. So I just leave it like that. Okay? Remember, try your best to protect life. Sometimes we can't do it, but try your best. Yes? Mercy killing is the worst kind of killing. Because we take the easy way out. We take the easy way out. You see, in some of my books I mentioned, I told my pupils, a doctor, I said, you got to be more than a doctor. You got to be more than a lawyer. You got to be more than a businessman. If you're a Buddhist, you got to be more than all this. What does it mean? Who is a doctor? You are sick, doctor, press here, press there, listen to your heartbeat, they say, okay, you got this, you got that. Suppose medicine cannot cure you. So the doctor has failed, right? So, what does doctor say? Sorry, we got to put him to sleep. It's too easy, isn't it? It happens once in a while. For example, there was once this dog was overrun by a car, and the dog broke its leg. We took it to the vet. The vet said, it's too difficult to heal this dog. The leg is broken totally. Would you like to put the dog to sleep? Of course you won't want to put the dog to sleep. It's terrible. So I told the one of the mitras, bring back the dog. So we got to patch the leg ourselves. So we had to learn first aid, Got to buy the plaster of Paris. We tried so many times. At first, the dog looked so funny, big first aid. This plaster of Paris there, and the dog couldn't move. So we had to. Finally, we learned how to do it properly. And then, to be honest with you, I didn't feel the leg will heal, But I told myself, what else can I do? The doctor won't help. I have to do something. Then 1 week later, the plaster of Paris fell off, and the leg was okay. I told myself, look at this doctor. We must send this dog to show him, He just said, put him to sleep, without trying hard, you see. So this is where I think sometimes we take things easy, you see. So what does it mean to be more than doctor? Okay, someone is going to die. Okay, someone will say, what if this patient is suffering very great pain? Well, in medicine, you're allowed to give morphine or some pain-killing drugs to the dying person. After all, he's dying, you see. So doctors are allowed to prescribe such painkillers, at least to make the person die less painfully. That's one way, instead of mercy killing. Secondly, the doctor can ask to help the family, say, maybe take the person home. Let the person die home. The person will feel happier in that way, Let the family take care of the last few hours or last few days of the person, instead of mercy killing. Of course, you may say, despite all that, sometimes people suffer very greatly. Take, for example, the Emperor of Japan, still alive today. And you've got to put so much blood into him, Why don't people just pull out the plug, they say? Well, they respect this man. That's why they do this. That is what makes us different from the animals. We are human beings. So this is where, even after what I said, suppose there is a law which allows mercy killing. What is the Buddhist stand? Then we say, in that case, we must not make it too easy. As far as possible, the victim must give his consent, must sign the paper, when his mind is clear. Secondly, the loved ones also must consent, parents especially, or husband or wife. And at least 2 doctors also must consent. Then only it can be performed. But this is only if it is a law in the country. Otherwise, it's very dangerous. Suppose mercy killing is legalized. Whoever is given the power to sign the form is a very dangerous person, And I'm not going to get sick or go to the hospital for sure. Because a doctor just said, this man, you've got to perform mercy killing. And once I'm dead, who's going to bring me back alive? Isn't it? So it is not something we can just think lightly about, We are dealing with the first value. Remember, Anyway, as I said, Buddhism is quite idealistic sometimes. But as human beings, we need ideals. If you don't have ideals, we are just like animals. We may not reach the ideals, but at least we guide our lives by the ideals. Any other question? The person is dying, let's say, okay? Or the person is unconscious in a coma, but we don't know whether the person is dead or not. Because the mind could still be there. Even when the body is declared clinically dead, no breath, no brain activity, no heartbeat, there are cases where the person comes back to life too, because there is no instrument to measure consciousness. So as Buddhists, the first thing you should do is, if you can, invite monks to do some prayers for this person, or you yourself, once in a while, once a day at least, say some puja, or read some sutra to this dying person, because you don't know, at any point this person may pass away, you see, or the person is conscious, can hear you. So to treat the dying properly is very important in Buddhism. You do whatever you can to make this person comfortable. Okay? As I said, more than that, you got to decide what to do. Whether euthanasia or not is your choice. The monk will never approve of it, but it's your choice. I cannot say more. If I say more, then I will approve of it, you see. So we do not approve of it. All that we can say is, it is your choice. It is a doctor's choice. It is a choice of the family. It's the person's choice. The same answer applies to abortion also. Okay? It's a choice of the mother.
the choice of the parents, the choice of the family, if possible the choice of the child also. But the child is unborn, so it's unfair, see? Isn't it? So it's not so simple. Any other question? Yes?
Smoking included in the fifth precept.
Well, that's another of those grey areas in Buddhist Vinaya. For example, in Siam, some of the monasteries, they allow smoking. Some monasteries, they don't allow smoking. So, it depends on the custom. Some people take advantage of the fact that they say, oh, Buddha's time there was no cigarettes, so it's okay today. But it's not so simple as that. You see, because if smoking is addictive, then it falls into the fifth precept. Because there is Buddhist law of interpretation also. There are many things today which don't exist in Buddha's time, but you can interpret according to one of the rules. The Buddha has given what are called the Mahapadesa. It's a bit complicated. You see, how to interpret new things that didn't exist in Buddha's time, like smoking. So if it is addictive, you should not take it. If there's no reason to take it, don't take it. That's one of the things I had to give up. Because when I was in the sixth form, I used to smoke. Because the exam, you see. Then I told myself, I look funny if I smoke as a monk, and I should stop, I think. So I stopped. That was a determination I had to make. I was lucky because I was not an addict smoker. So try to cure it by, for example, meditation. One way is this, if you find you're stuck to it, put some olive oil on your cigarette. A thin line of olive oil, so when you burn it, you get a terrible taste. You never want to smoke again. I think that's how I stopped smoking, coming to think of it. I've forgotten, so long ago, I forgot where I read it, but you try that. This is called aversion therapy. Yeah, aversion therapy. But don't get hooked on to smoking with olive oil. Then that's another problem.